You're listening to the Dynamic Thinking Project podcast. This is episode 62, and today's topic is how would humans behave in an apocalypse? Hey everyone, Adam Musalli here. Welcome to the Dynamic Thinking Project podcast. If this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. This podcast is released every Friday, and show notes are found at the website, themindtechinstitute.com. It's all one word. Come back often and feel free to add this podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow me on Twitter and Facebook. All links are in the show notes and the website. And now, let's get started. Maybe you're thinking now, Adam, what the hell, man? What's with the topic? Just listen and be amazed. This topic is based on social and behavioral science, and here's more for those who think this topic is crazy. Well, did you know in 2011, a plan drafted by the US government was revealed to the public called Con Plan 8888-11, that's 88-11, and that's for counter-zombie dominions. It used to help defense plan creators and trainers explore unexpected, unplanned for threats and learn how to strategically develop defense for any possible variables or threat, of course, including zombie outbreak. Also, did you know the United Nations has an office called the Office for Outer Space Affairs? Yes, it was established in 1962 and it's based at the United Nations office in Vienna. And yes, they do have an extraterrestrials ambassador. I'm not sure if Dr. Mazlan Othman is still the extraterrestrials ambassador, but I remember she was a couple of years ago. And also religious people, I'm not sure if they would find this topic somewhat strange because the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran, the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, and many other religious books are filled with such creatures who invaded or will invade Earth, such as Gog and Magog, or Ya'juj wa Ma'juj in the Torah, Bible, and the Quran. So I guess it is time to dive straight into that, but once we get the intro out of the way. If you're interested in learning and becoming a fully qualified hypnotherapist, neurolinguistic programming practitioner, or master practitioner, that's NLP, a life coach, or a counselor, now you can study all that totally online. All you have to do is visit mti.edu.au or themindtechinstitute.com, and you will find all these courses along with many other courses once you click on the online courses tab. All our diplomas and advanced diplomas are accredited and recognized worldwide. And for more information, all can be found online, themindtechinstitute.com. So, going back to our interesting topic, how would people behave in an apocalypse? And keep in mind, an apocalypse, the word, it doesn't only mean zombie pandemic, but it means anything that threatens the safety and security, or actually the existence of humans. And by that, I mean the livings. This would be against a zombie pandemic. And by the way, the word pandemic is different than epidemic. Pandemic is on a global scale. Pandemic is on a national or local scale. So pandemic is global. So it would be against a zombie pandemic, alien invasions, or getting wiped out by an asteroid, or simply the first sick, twisted-minded idiot who would push a nuclear button. The word apocalypse is often associated with the end of the world, but actually the word apocalypse, it means cataclysmic event or events. However, there is an actual study on the end of the world topic, yes, there is a special study and it's called eschatology. So, since our topic is how humans would behave during an apocalypse and post-apocalypse events, I'm not going to get into the idea if a zombie pandemic is possible, but yes, it is possible scientifically speaking. Or actually, I think we can talk about it for a bit. I'm just trying to keep the episode around 20 minutes tops, and we'll do a whole episode about the possibility of a zombie apocalypse soon. So briefly, as you know that whatever happens in nature can likely and possibly happens to humans, since we are all part of this nature and the biology of this nature. And zombies in nature happens more often than you think. You see, there are many examples of zombies in the natural world. For example, there is a fungus from the genus Ophiocordyceps, which is unknown to the insect victims. The insect would eat it or maybe just touch it. So the fungus will invade the insect's body, spreads all over, and eventually take over the host within days. This fungus essentially controls the body of its victim completely. It looks like a mushroom sticking out of the insect to later burst out of the victim's head and falls down below to carry on the cycle by infecting other insects. This type of parasite has been around for millions of years, of course, through various forms. Actually, for some reason, I just thought of Morgellons. And if you don't know about that, that's also some freaky disease, but we'll talk about it very soon too. It's very, very interesting. Anyway, there are lots of other examples in nature where bodies of species can be taken over and controlled by parasites. Can that happen to humans? I don't see why not. Yes, it can be more complicated biologically, but it is possible. And we'll talk about it in another episode, a special episode about a possibility of a zombie outbreak. So, how would people react in such case or any case of a disaster or an apocalypse? No matter what the disaster is, what they all have in common is that everything is thrown into chaos. First, everyone will be so confused and scared, not knowing why or what exactly was happening, and how or if it will ever stop. Of course, cell phones and internet most likely will be overloaded, and soon will crash, and people will panic more once they lose communication, especially with their loved ones. You see, those thoughts and feelings are exactly what people in a zombie apocalypse will be experiencing. They will realize that cell phones will be useless because everyone will be trying to reach their loved ones. There will be news coverage if there is plenty of incidents of people attacking other people. There will be people in denial, in shock, or they don't know what to make of hearing such news. Then it will get worse because the attacks will increase. People will be confused and scared about why it's happening and why it's not stopping. It will feel so real, but once they are in it, experiencing the attacks for themselves, it will be shocking and hopefully it won't get them killed. But how do we know such behavior? I mean, forget about movies and all that, although I watch The Walking Dead and I watch other zombies movies and series, and the behavior of people, this is I would say this is exactly what's going to happen. Hopefully it will never happen, but because it's spot on. Another thing, for example, if you remember Hurricane Katrina, one of the 5 deadliest hurricanes in the history of the United States, is another good example of how chaotic it can get. Even till this day, if people went down to the areas that were hit the hardest, they can still see the lingering damage. That's not surprising because 80% of the city and the large tract of neighboring parishes became flooded. And the floodwater lingered for weeks. Boats and casinos' barrages rammed buildings, pushing cars and houses inland, and the water reached 10 to 19 kilometers from the beach. 10 to 19 kilometers, that would be around 6 to 12 miles, just an estimate. I can't even imagine how it felt like for the people that went through all that. But what I've learned from it is that cell phones aren't reliable at all, and people had to find other means of communications. They had to survive without electricity or running water, survive without their homes, without their loved ones, without food and water. They lost so much already. They had to rely on others for help, for the firefighters, the National Guards, police and FEMA to provide aid, and maybe just the necessities, maybe just probably first aid or clean water. It certainly wasn't easily to regain peace and order because the flooding made it difficult. There was also violence and killing, and there was also looting and some terrible people who also took advantage of others. And we already saw what happened on the TV and the horrific stories that we saw, and people started shooting at each other. So this is how humans would behave. This is what happened. Another example to look at is the Black Death, or the bubonic plague, which is a pandemic caused by the bacterium. It killed an estimated 75 million people, wiped out somewhere around 30 to 60% of Europe's population. They didn't have the modern technology, of course, and medicine and knowledge that we have today. But if they did, would have been able to prevent or lessens the death toll. As the bodies piled up, it became more efficient to burn them to prevent further spread of disease. They had to be extreme, and if they suspected someone was sick, they would have to burn them alive by setting their home on fire. So what we one should look into is the length that European countries went to ensure that they were safe from the plague, what areas were better off, and why it wouldn't be surprising if a zombie apocalypse that countries would try to quarantine incidents or close off their borders to prevent the infected from reaching their population. They would certainly resort to burning bodies, as that's the safest way to dispose infected bodies and keep them from contaminating anything, especially water. They would most likely test everyone for symptoms and remove them from the rest of the population, probably even use lethal force to keep their borders secure. Now, the worst and most dangerous, terrifying factor, it wouldn't come from aliens or the undead, but it would come from the livings, or better say, humans. And that factor is paranoia, because people could be quick to assume a common cold symptom is a sign of the virus, for example, and it can lead to unnecessary death because of panic. And for that reason, many would try to escape if they are sure they'll be executed over a simple cold. Or what if they really are infected, and by running they are unintentionally spreading the infection? But because they are scared and the rest of the population is just as scared, their paranoia can be their own downfall. Another factor, which is also, I would say personally, more terrifying beside paranoia, is scarcity. Because of scarcity, people would kill for just simple resources. And also there will be those who will form cults and will form groups and religious groups and will form other groups and religious groups. They will form their belief, and those who will combine their paranoia, scarcity with their religious beliefs and start killing everyone because they believe it's God's will, and they assign themselves as ambassadors for their own fictions and allow themselves to manage other people's fate. I personally really would stay away from such dangerous idiots. Then there is the people outside the borders trying to survive. They might believe that it's safe inside just because the country was able to isolate themselves from the rest of the world. It might not be that much better inside. And it really depends on what kind of zombie virus you're dealing with, of course, if the case is a zombie virus. Now, what if all fails? What if there is no one to enforce the laws? What if everything you knew was gone and you just have to adjust to the new world? How much should someone let go of the past and of their morals? How much should they embrace the new world? What about the children and those born into the new lawless world? How would they behave? What would their thoughts and reaction be like? How much different would it be from those that still remember how society was like? The Last of Us, The Walking Dead, and many other fiction forces us to examine the extreme behavior humans are capable of under extreme circumstances. In an extremely stressful situation, people often do things they didn't believe they were capable of in order to survive. In the world of The Walking Dead, nearly everyone had experienced some losses and psychological trauma, but despite the omnipresence of trauma, not everyone becomes psychopaths. In reality, how well one copes with the trauma is related to the individual's resiliency. The process of positively adapting in the face of significant adversity. The studies have shown that certain factors promote adaptive coping to trauma, while other factors reduce the likelihood of such responses. Factors that promote resiliency include individual factors such as high IQ, being in touch with one's emotions, self-confidence, a sense of humor, relationship with good attachments, and supportive peers or social group. Indeed, being part of a high-quality social group during an apocalypse not only offers security, power, affiliation, and opportunity for goal achievement, and of course that would be survival, but also serves as a buffer from maladaptive coping with trauma. And of course we're talking about a group, hopefully it's not some fanatic religious or racist groups or whatever belief is based on, but not humanity. So in summary, hopefully such event won't ever happen, but if, and I don't mean it as in fear-mongering, but if it did happen, I would personally stay away from people because everyone will scavenge to survive, even if they have to kill for it. Such a depressing topic, I know. It was suggested by a few of our listeners, and I thought it is interesting, and it's a good idea to squeeze it in this episode. Next episode, it would be very interesting. And of course, this episode will prepare you for other topics which are coming soon. And once again, if you would like to study and become a fully qualified hypnotherapist, neurolinguistic programming NLP, a life coach, or even a counselor, now you can study all that totally online. All you have to do is visit mti.edu.au or themindtechinstitute.com, and you will find all these courses along with many other courses. Once you click on the online courses tab, all our diplomas and advanced diplomas are accredited and recognized worldwide. And for more information, all can be found online, themindtechinstitute.com. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, as usual, you can email me. The email is on our website, themindtechinstitute.com. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, especially if you are listening to this podcast on YouTube. The Dynamic Thinking Project podcast is released every Friday. Until next time, take care and enjoy your weekend. This is Adam Muselli, signing out.